So just on my way out to one of my furthest apiaries, we're Tuesday morning, I think. Yeah, time's flying by. We have coming up ahead of us a few days of reasonable weather, and it may get to the 19-20 degree mark, which is pretty rare, but for this time of year it's just the perfect timing. As I said before, we were hoping for some decent weather, and now it looks like we're going to get it. So I've been putting all my supers on, I've been sorting out all my gear, and I apologise for the shaky camera, but obviously I'm driving and filming at the same time, and the video doesn't like this. But what I will say is that the good weather that is coming after some heavy rain we had 2 days ago. So any flowers we have will give a really good nectar flow, I think. So I wanted to show you this picture for us, as you can see now. Just past a field there spreading manure, it absolutely reeks. And I wanted to show you this picture of Ian Stepler's forecast. And I just wanted to highlight the differences of how difficult it is to get your head around how the weather works sometimes. You know, we've had a really good spell and then it went off, and now we're going back again. Ian has had pretty crap right from the start. He got his hives out just about when he could, and now he's having to take the small ones back in, all the nukes back in, so that he can give them the best possible chance, and he's had to make that decision. What I'm saying is, it's absolutely amazing that we can follow people from the other side of the world, and I actually feel guilty about posting how good my weather is when I hear of other beekeepers suffering losses, suffering really bad conditions, when I am suddenly getting much better conditions. Obviously, everybody has different weather phenomenon around the world, but it's just to say that as beekeepers, we're all sharing that hand-in-mouth moment where you think, brilliant, they're getting this, brilliant, they're getting that, and oh my God, they're getting that. And to see those people with losses is just heartbreaking, you know, to see the amount of losses people are getting from overwintered hives is really, really shit. I know that those people having losses are thinking they did everything they could have done. Everything. They're working on their mites, they're working on the autumn treatment, they're working on feeding, and they're all coming out scratching their heads. If you're out there and you're losing bees, you're not alone. We're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you, because laughing is all you can do. And I think that's something to remember, that in beekeeping you have to have a really good sense of humour, because we're farmers, we're carers of livestock, and there's some things that are just beyond our control. There's nothing you can do, but you've got to seize that moment whenever you can. You've got to continually work at making the best of what you've got and pushing yourself so that when the weather is good or when things are coming, you can do the best you can to maximize your cropping potential, which is what we do with bees with the nectar flow. What I wanted to say was, I've really picked up on something caused by the weather. When I've been going through these nukes I've been transferring, and when I've been going through production hives, putting on supers, I've had a little look, and it's really interesting to note the lack of open brood. So that in my mind, the reason why we've had that is we've had the queens slowing down their laying. So what you're seeing in the hives right now is capped brood from before the cold spell, at the end of that beautiful period we had. And then also you're seeing eggs that the queens are laid now because they started laying more. But in between, it actually looks like there's some issue with the colonies, and that's the reason why we're not getting so much open brood, is because the weather has automatically made the queens think, let's slow down a bit. So the queens have slowed down. It's just interesting to note that we don't often see that here, but the colonies luckily had plenty of pollen from the good spell before. And if you look at my screen as we're driving, you'll probably see a few fields of rape as we pass, but if I was to flip the camera around and scan the horizon, you'd see 2 or 3, and I'll show you that later, as was last year. Wherever you are in Brittany, you're never that far from fields of rapeseed oil or canola, and it is really good because it gives everything that boost. So the weather we've had looks like it's going to go good, and it looks like we had a fantastic flow yesterday running. A bit of a front come through this morning with a little bit of rain, but virtually no use at all, as usual. But today it'll brighten up, and then as from tomorrow it really starts to warm up, and that will mean that everything that is left, there's still cherries coming into flower, there's all the other trees to come into flower that will flower this spring in the next 2 weeks, and then that will give a good flow, because we've still got blackthorn, we've still got, and the hawthorns to come yet, all that kind of thing. The willow's finished, but you know, what I'm trying to say is we're still okay. There's still plenty out there to make a good flow if the weather's good and if the bees are ready. That's something we've got to remember, though, is it's not just the right flowers, it's are your bees ready? And that's something I've always questioned in the spring, is are the colonies up to speed? Yeah, the roads are pretty windy here going to this apiary, and it's quite a way out. Another thing I had this morning, I had a registered letter in the post from the Planning Council saying that my planning had been kind of temporarily rejected because they're missing 2 documents. One of the documents they missed was the authorization from the assainissement, the drainage people, that my septic tank, they didn't have the documents for that, but I actually received a copy of that last week, but they didn't get it in time before the document was analysed. So that's one thing. The other reason is my architect filled out the wrong form, but putting all that aside, it can all be rectified, but now I have to go to the back of the queue and wait another 4 weeks before they analyse the document again. So we'll submit that today or tomorrow, the rectification. It's just very, very frustrating. I've waited 4 weeks and now I'm back to square one in the application process. So it really, really makes me absolutely livid. You know, you pay these people to fill out the forms correctly and they don't fill them out correctly. But there's no point in doing anything about it, really, because it doesn't get you any further. You just got to go, whatever. It won't actually make any difference to my building, to be honest, because I probably won't be building till July, August anyway, and that's when I'll probably get the application through at the earliest. So, you know, but I have to be grateful. Things will still be fine. It won't affect anything really at all. And the application will get through, all being well, you know, in time, in its good time. I think with building, you have to be, I've learned a lot already, and I've learned that no matter what you think you know, whatever will happen in its own pace. That's what building regulations are. You can try and push and push and push, and it just doesn't happen. But anyway, that was a little update on what's been happening. So I'm kind of, you know, but everything is to play for. Nothing is lost yet. I've got to remain optimistic, and hopefully we'll have some good nectar flow, and hopefully we'll have some honey in the hives. Let's go and do some bees. Let's go and get on with stuff. So I'm right out of this apiary where I would call it, this is one I call chestnut land. And I'm just going to show you around a bit. So we've got a road running past the front, but I've got private access with a gate, which is really good. And we're right in the forest of Pladiliac here. But the thing to say about forests is, when you're in a forest, you don't really want to be in a forest, okay? You want to be in a mixed forest. The problem with forests is often they are just there for wood production. And in which case, you don't get any of this. You don't get any gorse, you don't get any coppice, you don't get any breaks. You see through there, the other side in the field, the other side, all that is goat willow. Okay, we've got pine, these are actually Douglas fir they've replanted here. You can see these young trees. They harvested here a few years ago and they've replanted Douglas fir, which will take a long time to grow. Obviously some have lived, some haven't. You can see it all the way through there. But this is what you call mixed forest. And that is why it's so good, is because it is mixed. But I do call this chestnut land. And the reason why I call this is you see all these trees here without any leaves on. They're not dead. They just haven't come into leaf yet. And this is the weird thing about spring over here, is a lot of the flowers are coming early and early, but the main trees that will flower in the summer, that's the chestnut there, they really won't open till another couple of weeks yet. And when they do open, you almost see their flower buds straight away, but the flowers don't come out till between mid-June and mid-July. But it just gives you some idea. I've got about 6 dead outs here that I haven't cleared out. I knew they were dead out last autumn, but I'm going to remove them today. There's not that. Everything else is actually really good. I'm not afraid to say that I have got a few dead outs here. This apiary is an odd one. Sometimes it's really good. You know, in the summer it can be, I don't really want to keep this apiary if it's rubbish. It sometimes doesn't perform well in the spring. And this spring it's slower than all the others, as per often. But when you see that lovely gorse there, you think, well, you know, why is it slow? I just think it's queens. I think it's a combination of what colonies you've got and what state they're in, you know. So, but this is a good apiary because I can just literally leave bees here and not. This one's a dead out. Still full of honey though, but I've actually got a replacement in the truck. So this one I'm going to clean out a bit, have a good look at it. Loads of frames of honey in there. You can even smell it, take out some stuff and put a new replacement in its spot. Oh, it weighs a ton. I'm just going to take most of those frames back and probably melt those down or use them for nukes in the spring. That's the kind of thing I've been doing for the last, oh goodness knows, 2 weeks. There's been a few dead outs here and there in each apiary. I'm not afraid to say that this happens, you know, and how you deal with them is quite important. I've got a nuke of bees here, which I was meaning to move since last autumn. Okay, the truth is coming out now. You can hear these in here. You can probably see them underneath. I know you can probably hear them. I'll put the mic right next to the front. You can probably hear these. They are just busting to get out. So I'm going to put that in its place. I'm going to transfer these today. They won't like it, but they're going to get transferred straight away. Because that's one done out of the way, and I can bring a few more in the next few days. But I'm going to open the box quickly and walk away. Got to replace that pallet. Put them there. And open the box. Get the hell out of it. Just while they circle round, pour out the front. They were never that nice anyway, that nuke, but it's really important that when you open up nukes that you do get the hell out of it. And just because what happens when you open up a nuke, there's a lot of pressure inside and the bees just pour out the front. And if you run off like I just did, they'll just stick behind you and follow you because they don't know where they're going. Then they suddenly turn around, they don't know where the hell they are. So you give them 20 minutes, half an hour, and before you know it, they start to orientate and there's no problem at all. So we're just going to get all my kit together. You can see we've had rain. I managed to put my smoker fuel in the other night, so that is dry. So we're okay. This is a suit from BB Wear, and I'm really pleased with it. It does do what it says on the tin, and it keeps me sting free, and it's hard wearing. So, you know, that's what it's all about. Let's get our smoker lit. You look in your smoker, how much can you save from the day before? Because smoker fuel is precious. Most of that can go back in. When I can't save my own straw from trimmings, I just buy the stuff they use for animals. It's about 10 quid for a big box and it will last for ages, you know? I'm like, I can't be doing with crappy smoker fuel. It's got to be working. It needs to be good. That's all you need to do. There's so much time I've wasted when my smoker's gone out, when I'm in the middle of doing something, and it's just the most annoying thing. And it used to be worse. I've actually got wise to it, but it used to be a lot worse when I used to keep a lot blacker bees, darker bees, and they were terrible. The native AMM here can be absolutely atrocious. I don't care if anyone gets upset by me saying this, because when you keep what you catch out the trees, they're generally atrocious bees. So as soon as I went to Buckfast, I changed my my genetics over and started to get better and better. I actually didn't have to rely on my smoker being good because the bees were better already. So it just shows you. But that's just my opinion. Other people have got other opinions. You know, I suppose that's what we're all in, to respect other people's ideas. I personally think that black bees are absolutely atrocious to work with in most cases. I could spend ages selecting and breeding from black bees, right? But at the end of the day, I've got the same problem I have with my buckfast. There's such a pool of wild Apis mellifera that constantly swarm and go from tree to tree because they're full of varroa. I'm always fighting against that, so what's the point? I'd rather stick with buckfast. At least I get some good, I think we're well lit now. At least I get some good performance. Bear with me for a second. There's the roof. There's the old hive. We can do a bit of an autopsy. Why did this colony die? Who knows? But the usual thing, it's full of honey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 frames of honey. It's been robbed out a little bit, but not by mice. These frames are all good. They can all be kept. And I will keep these and use them again. I'll take the partition out because there's no point in having partitions in this time of the year. Another good frame, nothing wrong with that at all. Another good frame, nothing wrong with that at all. It's clean, reasonably new, no dead brood in it. We might find some in a minute. This is there's the queen at the bottom. You see her? Blue dot queen. So why did she fail? Who knows? She was caged because I released her, look, and the door's still open. That's how you release the queens. A little bit of brood there, but no dead larvae. Sorry, there's a dead larvae in that, dead larvae in that, dead larvae in that. There's no mush. You see, the bees just never developed because they went cold and it collapsed. Same thing you get. There's a dead bee there, you see. That's your disease recognition. Easy to do. If you find dead young adult bees in your cells, they did not die of any brood disease. And you'd see a whole lot in the frame anyway. That's the easiest way to work it. Let's close that door. That frame's a little bit darker, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it whatsoever. So I can leave 4 frames in, I'll leave a frame, I'll actually take them all out, I'm going to give it a scrape out, clean out the hive a bit. That's another good frame there, nothing wrong with that at all. This is a Varroa death in my mind, so we have to abandon that because it hasn't stopped raining and everything is getting really wet here. So maybe we'll be able to start again in a little while. But at least I've got one transfer done. But the bees aren't happy. This is what usually happens when you try and do bees in the rain. They start walking. I'm just sat back in the truck and I've got bees down my neck. I'm about to get stung and it's still raining. La la la. So you can probably hear that. The hum of pissed off bees on my suit. And it's still raining. So it looks like I'm going to have to call that for quits for today. I got that one hive transferred. You can just see between a window there. And I've also put a super on the one next door. But the bees just aren't playing ball. And I don't blame them really. You know? What do you do? It is what it is. Take care, speak soon. Bye-bye.